Welcome, and thank you for joining us for this video where we're going to talk about Viking Non-GMO Soybeans. My name is Mac Ehrhardt. I am chairman of Albert Lee Seed, and I'm joined today by Jake Hansen, who is our product manager. Jake, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Mac. Like you said, my name is Jake Hansen. I'm currently serving as our corn and soybean product manager. I've been with Albert Lee Seed for 15 years now. I grew up in the area here in Albert Lee, Minnesota. And about the last 10 years, I'm serving as like I said, our corn and soybean product manager, working very closely with Mac and industry reps to bring what we feel is probably the strongest corn and conventional non-GMO corn and soybean lineup that we can present to you today.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, and just a word on that. It's all we do, right? Like we don't, conventional non-GMO corn is not an afterthought for us. We don't have a traded business where we spend most of our time. Really, all we do, our entire research effort and breeding effort is all about bringing the best possible corn and soybean products to the marketplace that are conventional and non-GMO or organic, because of course organic is an important part of our business through the Blue River brand. So yeah,
Right.
so in this video today, we're going to talk about Viking conventional non-GMO soybeans from 2.0 to 2.4 in maturity, and we'll dive right in.
Yeah, thanks, Mac. This is a group of beans here. I think really is for us here in southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, is kind of the bread and butter of our lineup, and I think we have a very strong presentation here for you. Kicking it off with probably the best 2.0 bean that I've seen in a long time, with the Viking 2022. This again, like I said, is a true 2.0 maturity, medium tall, medium bushy plant, bringing a lot of things to the table in terms of defense. That stress tolerance IDC, which I think is very important here as we cross southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, handles those acres extremely well, especially if you've got history of that IDC. This one was number one for yield, I think, last year in 2024, and it might have been in 2023 as well. And so far in 2025, it's not looking like it's slowing down at all. Excellent emergence, excellent standability. This is one that I'd be willing to put against the best enlist or extend flex bean on the market, and it's going to do just as good, probably even a little bit better. I think just nice, strong, genetically sound soybean that brings a ton of yield to the table and a lot of defense. Just overall, really healthy.
So I'll talk a little about the IAS 19C3, and also this is a great place to talk about some other things. So first of all, the 2022s that Jake just talked about are sold in 140,000 seeds at a time, which is sort of an industry standard. But you'll notice that the IAS 19C3 are sold 110,000 seeds per unit. There's a couple of reasons for that. A, we want to be consistent with all of our yellow hilum food grade beans, that they're all sold by this 110,000 seeds per unit. And the reason for that primarily is they tend to be larger seeded, and it's not possible to get 140,000 seeds in a bag without having the bag be so heavy that people don't want to work with it. So note that when you're figuring out how many units of soybeans you need for your acres, please pay attention to how these are sold, because some of these soybeans are sold by the 140 and some are sold by the 110. The other thing I'd call out is the IAS 19C3 has a ultra pure badge on it, and that means we guarantee the seed to be 99.9% free of GMOs, which is important for food grade contracts, which is primarily why you'd grow this variety. Basically, you're buying seed that you are very confident has an extremely low level of GMO. Whereas the 2022, we also make a strong efforts to purify and produce our seed such that it doesn't get contaminated. And we have a pure badge on that, which guarantees that it's 99% free of GMO. In fact, we are confident it's 99.5, but we didn't want to create yet another badge to confuse the page. So we stuck with these two badges. With that, I'll talk a little about the variety itself. The 19C3 is, as the name implies, was released by Iowa State. They launched it as a 1.9. In our research trials and just our experience with the variety, we really feel like it's more of a 2.1. Does its best work in that 2.1 maturity range. As you push it north into 1.9, 1.8 country, there are varieties that are probably better suited. Really beautiful soybean in the field, very good standing. especially for a food bean, an attractive plant, and also surprisingly good yields. There's, in our internal research trials, this being consistently yields with some of the better conventional dark Highland beans. So no slouch at all for yield, and bringing in general a protein that's going to be 41% or better. Of course, always check with whoever you think you're going to sell your food soybeans to make sure that this is a variety that they will accept. One more note on the IAS 19C3, it is an Iowa State variety that requires a license before seed delivery. There's a note on that on this slide, which I will not read out loud to you, but you can also find that on our website or in our catalog. Again, if you have questions about this variety or any other varieties, please call your dealer or call us directly.
Right. Thank you, Mac. Next up, another great pair of soybeans here. Starting off with one of our best sellers, if not our best selling overall bean, with the 2155 at about a 2.2 to 2.3 maturity. We originally launched this one a few years ago as a 2.1. After doing so, we realized that this is a bean that likes to flex its maturity a little bit. We've seen this one as far north as Owatonna, Minnesota, Faribault, Minnesota, and act like a true 2.1. But we've also seen this one get planted south around Ames, Iowa, and act like a 2.4. So it does flex its maturity just a little bit based on where it's planted, which does make it a very nice adaptable variety. You can push to a lot of areas, both north to south and east to west. This is one that's always been a very strong performer year after year, very consistent yielding variety. Overall, great defense, tolerance to IDC, phytophthora, brown stem rot. It is well adapted to all of those locations we mentioned there at the bottom and anywhere in between. It's really been just one of our strong, top performing varieties that just keeps going. It's been a tough one to replace since we launched it. Next up, the 23B5 at a 2.3, which I feel is really a true 2-3 maturity. Things you're going to pick up here over some other ones around it is overall stress tolerance, specifically to drought, and that Peking gene. So you've got excellent drought tolerance and excellent cyst tolerance on this one. So outstanding defense. If you have a known cyst problem, this is one, or anything with that Peking gene is really one to concentrate on. I feel it's really going to give you that performance on those acres to step above some of the things around it that carry just the old PI88 gene, which has been around a long, long time. Very strong western movement as you move it into dry land, parts of Nebraska and South Dakota, or just into lighter soils in general. As I alluded to, the drought and stress tolerance on this one has been exceptional. A little bit taller bean, but it stands season long. All of my observations and notes the past 2 years on this bean have been excellent in terms of its standability. So you can get this one out there with confidence, knowing it's going to do a lot of things right for you. And as some of my colleagues like to say, the proof is in the pudding here with this lineup. I feel like this is such a strong lineup, our class of soybeans that we've got here, starting off with that 2022. These are all public trials. This isn't anything that we did. I wasn't standing next to a weigh wagon with my foot on it, trying to skew things. All of our trialing, everything we do is all third party. When we're doing that, making sure that we're getting what we feel is really the strongest yielding products that we can present to you in a Viking bag. And like I said here, this is just a small snapshot. I wanted to call out that 19C3 at the bottom there, as Mac alluded to. It's no slouch for yield, even though it's a food grade bean. 70 bushels in southern Minnesota is pretty strong, even against some of the best enlist and conventional beans out there.
Thanks, Jake. Are these results all from 2024?
These are all 2024.
Yeah. So again, our entire focus is on bringing out the best available conventional non-GMO soybeans and corn, and I think the results speak for themselves. Thanks.
Yep.
I'll talk about the next one. The next one is a new venture for us. We've never sold a high oleic, low linoleic soybean before, and Viking 23HO228 is that. It's a 2.3 maturity. that is a high oleic bean. It's got that improved fatty acid profile specifically for livestock feed efficiency. It also happens to be a yellow hyalum high protein bean, so we believe it also may have some utility in the food soybean market itself. But the primary reason we're launching it is that livestock producers, particularly dairy people, have asked us to add high oleic bean to our lineup because when they use it, when they can feed their own soybeans on their own farm by roasting them, they can reduce their feed input or their purchased feed inputs and improve their bottom line and also improve milk fat yield. So I'm not a dairy feeding expert. I want to be absolutely clear about that, but we're posting quite a bit of information about our website on our website about this, and we do have a couple people on staff who you can talk to about this. Mark Hostetler, who's our regional sales manager for the Great Lakes area, and Lacey Nelson in our office in Albert Lea are both dairy farmers, and they'd be happy to talk to you about these soybeans and how to use them in a livestock feed ration.
Great. Thank you, Mac. Yeah, it is kind of exciting to see, kind of like Mac said, a little bit new venture, kind of a new class of soybeans that are coming out for us to offer up. Next up is the E24Y002, bit of a mouthful, but for good reason. This is a yellow hyalum food type soybean, regularly hitting that 42+% protein pretty consistently. And this is actually an old bean that came out of an old Schillinger line that they labeled as E24Y, and we kept it the same moving forward because we feel it's widely known and a little bit more easily for you guys to market to your end users. Some other good things about this bean, you're picking up that RSP1K gene for excellent phytophthora tolerance. It's got a cis gene in it as well, bushy plant type. For those of you that remember our old Viking 2188, I think this is a great improvement and replacement for that bean. Stands much, much better, and it's still a very attractive looking plant as we move into the fall. Outstanding yield potential, even for this high protein. It really does compete very well with some of the beans around it at the same maturity.
Couple things. So these soybeans are both sold in 110,000 seed units. So be aware of that when you're figuring out how many units you need per acre. Also, a word on why they have the originator names on them. As Jake alluded to, that's to make it easier for end users to know what you have on your farm. So if we label them with a regular traditional Viking 2418 type number, then the end users wouldn't really know what they are. We just wanted to be transparent to make it easier for you to market them. One additional point of confusion in the 23HO228, which came from Benson Hill, they recently went through company transformation, and their new name is Confluence, and they are changing the name of this soybean. So next year, we're going to be calling it whatever Confluence chooses to call it. But for this year, it's 23HO228.
Correct. And going forward, we will be very clear and, like Max said, transparent about that name change and making sure you guys understand what we're doing. All right, the last bean here we'll talk about in this section here is the 2418N at a 2.4. Just if the 2155 was our number one seller, this one is a very close number two. Overall, just an outstanding yielding variety and very consistent from year to year across environments from Nebraska into Ohio. It's always done well. It's highly adapted across the Midwest here, as we point out. Decent height, decent bushy plant, has no problem filling up that wide row canopy. And just the overall disease protection on it, you can see there in those ratings, it's extremely consistent across locations and bringing a ton of yield. This has been a very popular bean for us as we got down into parts of northern Iowa or central Iowa as an early option. It's really moved very well, and I think it's been a very strong overall performer in our lineup.
Good. Yeah, and that concludes this section of Viking Non-GMO soybeans. Thank you for listening to our video. If you have specific questions about these varieties or you'd like to order or whatever, please call your dealer. You can find your dealer on our website, or you're always welcome to call us directly as well, and we're happy to answer questions. With that, I'd like to thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.